Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Hope everyone's doing well. In what I think of as another piece of good news, though news that is already stirring up some controversy, Turki Alalshikh has posted on X, "From this point on, I don't want to see any more Tom and Jerry type boxing matches, where one fighter is running around the ring and the other is chasing him. We can no longer support these kind of fights with Riyadh season and the ring. We want to support fighters who leave it all in the ring and fight with heart and pride." Now, when I saw this, I thought, that's good news. Someone's laying down the law on what I think of as overpaid elite athletes who in recent events have, to my mind, not given it their all. And that's how I took it. Essentially, the man who signs the checks, as it were, was saying to the people he's hired, I am not happy with the job you've done, and I'm publicly telling you off. Because clearly, Turki Alalshikh and the people around him and the people he employs to no doubt, trawl through social media posts, have probably reported back and said, look, this event that you put on in New York at Times Square and the follow-up in Riyadh, the Devin Haney stuff in Rio and Ryan Garcia stuff in what's it called? City of Wolves, wasn't it? Fatal Fury, City of Wolves. And then, of course, the Riyadh thing with Canelo and William Skull. Turkey's folks probably said, look, feedback has not been positive, right? You splashed out all this money and your PR has actually suffered. So this, to my way of thinking, is his very public response. And I thought, well, most people, I would imagine, will be happy to see this. We've complained online, we've moaned at the pub, we've talked to our mates, and we've said, that was crap. Thank God for Inouye who saved the weekend, kind of thing, right? But as I was outside doing my gardening and I was listening to social media, YouTube and podcasts and whatnot, I heard some pushback on this. Some people were saying, well, this is unfair. Turki Alalshikh is telling people how to fight. What would have happened to the great Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, both the Klitschkos, Lennox Lewis, Billy Joe Saunders? None of them would have had a chance to compete in a Riyadh season event. To me, I'm thinking that's an overstatement. I'm thinking that's reading something into this message that isn't there. I'm not seeing in this message great fighters who can fight really well off the back foot and are exceptional counterpunchers and who can make an opponent miss and look silly and then knock them out, need not apply. I'm not seeing this message here, right? Similar people were saying, oh, this would have precluded Muhammad Ali. Well, 1960s Ali, I'm assuming they're talking about. People were chasing Ali, but then people were getting very badly caught by Ali. And I'm thinking that people are looking at this, people who are critical of this message are looking for something to be critical about. Now, is there a potential red flag here? I can imagine a scenario where Turki Alalshikh is looking at two fighters to appear on a Riyadh season card. One is a crowd pleaser engaged, is in, has a fighting style that's very engaging to the crowd. The other fighter is possibly technically better. Sublime footwork, beautiful head movement and defensive rolls. And I can see a situation where Turki is saying, yeah, that fighter's got just impeccable technical skills, but the crowd are never excited by that person. Where this other fighter, he's always involved in, he gets people standing up and yelling and, spilling their beer, right? I guess the spilling beer issue isn't really relevant in Riyadh, but Riyadh season events are everywhere. So, yeah, I mean, Turki probably would pick the more exciting fighter. But who amongst us wouldn't, right? And I think that there's a very relatively small and very, very hardcore group of boxing fans who absolutely would prefer to watch that sublime technical excellence. An unkind comment is that all 65 of them can sit in Wembley Stadium and watch that. But the other, 96,000 will probably not show up. It's very, very rare that you're going to have two people who've got technical brilliance fighting, and the crowd are also entirely engaged to the same degree as a more, so we say, fan-friendly style will create, right? It's just because most people who go to the events are not themselves possessed of the knowledge to be able to see the nuance. And I would fall into that category, right? If I'm watching a fight with a more experienced eye next to me, somebody who's been an amateur boxer or coach who sees a lot of things, I'm missing a lot of stuff that they're seeing, right? And I think that many people who watch fights generally are missing stuff that I'm seeing. So, it's, you gotta have something that appeals to the crowd in order for it to be a business, right? That's the end of, at the end of the piece, the events have got to make money. So yes, there is a possibility that we might not see at some of these Riyadh season or ring events, somebody who has got that pure technical beauty, but isn't very exciting. And I just think that's the way it is, right? But anyhow, I think, generally speaking, that this is a good news story. It's sort of reminding the people who are paid to entertain us that most of us worldwide have not been so entertained by some of these recent shows. And I think that this is Turkey being responsive, really, to what fans like you and me have been saying. So I'm thinking of this as a pretty good story. But let me know what you think. Is the criticism of this really valid? Are we going to miss out on some otherwise, really interesting things because of Turkey's desire to see a more action-oriented kind of match take place? Let me know what you think. There is room for disagreement on this channel, of course. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And a huge thank you to those who have subscribed already. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day and enjoy whatever it is you're doing. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.